So Scott, let's talk about solar access. What is it and how does it affect system performance?
Well, more than geography, the siting of the building and can it get enough sunlight on the building to operate a system is the biggest issue. And it's a big problem in regarding picking installers that really don't understand solar. So the first thing you need to worry about is on the south face of the building or the property, can I get the full arc of the sun from dawn to dusk going across the sky? And that means you need a good south face from dawn to dusk. So you need to make sure there aren't other buildings in the way. A quarter mile away there isn't some little hill or a little mountain peak that blocks the sun as it comes up. Or are there trees or other kinds of structures like fences that actually can cast a shadow on your solar thermal or solar electric photovoltaic system? And there are siting tools for that, and if you get this NABCEP certified installer, they've been trained to do it right. And I have to say, in all the systems I've been called in that have been installed from very small to very large, the fundamental mistake was it was sited wrongly. They used a compass, for instance, to determine due south when of course there was some magnetic load somewhere pulling the compass needle off. And these are very expensive mistakes that a certification and a certified installer will help you do, and so you don't have to face it and get optimal performance out of any solar system.
So this is a running theme through all the frequently asked questions. Get an expert. Regardless of what you do, ask an expert and hire an expert.
Right, and check their references to make sure they're an expert.
Okay, so now I think I know what your answers are going to be to this next series of questions, but we've got a map here and I want to use
Excellent.
it. So I don't know if you can tell from my accent that I grew up in the Northeast, but let's start there. New England and New York. Scott, does solar work there?
First of all, solar works excellently. There are tens of thousands of solar installations. Electric costs tend to be higher in that part of the country, so payback is faster. And the only issue is, particularly for solar thermal systems, you have to make sure you have adequate freeze protection. And the higher up part, like Maine, you have to make sure your photovoltaics are banked a little higher than normal so you get snow slide off the panels. Otherwise, New England is perfect for solar.
All right, next, Mid-Atlantic.
Mid-Atlantic, tens of thousands of solar systems. New Jersey and Pennsylvania are giant markets for solar. Maine really building as well. Here again, great sunlight, a lot of flat roofs. Only issue primarily actually is vegetation, trees. And so you got to really again have a very smart checking out of whether you have any problems in blocking your sunlight.
All right, Southeast and the Gulf Coast.
Southeast and Gulf Coast, lower electricity costs, which is an issue. By the way, less gas pipelines, natural gas pipelines, so for heating, solar and cooling, solar thermal actually could be more cost effective. But as you know, Mark, from your experience working in New Orleans, they also have a lot of storms. And so outages are more common in that region of the country, almost more than any other. And therefore, both solar thermal and photovoltaic systems make absolutely economic sense when you consider loss of economic activity.
All right, let's move into the Midwest, which is not all one region. You've got the lower Midwest, you've got the upper Midwest.
Well, let's include it as a region. As you know, it's very good for wind, and I do want to point out that hybrid solar electric photovoltaic systems with wind work very, very well. Wind mostly blows at night. Solar, of course, works when the sunshine is up. So you can have wonderfully blended systems, and there are hundreds of thousands of them in our country operating today. Fundamentally, sunlight is pretty strong. Even the north, it's a northern desert, it's dry air. So you can, solar thermal and photovoltaics work. Obviously, the more north you get, the more aperture, the more number of panels increase. In the south part of the Midwest, you can start also looking at concentrated solar thermal, using reflectors and mirrors both for photovoltaics and for thermal systems, both rooftop, ground, and frankly some of the largest thermal systems are attached to the grid now are actually the lowest cost bulk power providers of solar available.
All right, so let's move into the Rocky Mountains where we start seeing some orange on this map.
Well, the bottom part of the country, the southwest, is ideal for solar. I can't imagine anywhere, except if you have a giant cactus in front of your panel, that it would be a problem. Obviously, as you go north, and as I mentioned, I've lived in Montana, there you have snow issues, and in certain cases, cloud issues that you just have to be thoughtful with. Are there tens of thousands of systems in that northern part of the country, northern Rockies? Absolutely, but you have to be more thoughtful. Bank your solar panels a little more steeply for snow slide off. By the way, raise them higher because animals like to have relationships sometimes with solar panels, and you want to avoid that as much as possible. And lastly, you do have to be a little more sensitive on cloud cover.
Scott, being one of the wittiest guys in solar, has made me crack up. So I got to ask you a question for clarification.
Yes.
Have you ever encountered a situation where a collection of giant cacti have prevented a solar installation?
I have seen cacti grow in front of solar panels, so when they were put in, they worked fine. And as they get taller, they don't work, they start blocking. And in some areas of the country, they are protected, meaning you cannot cut the cactus down. So therefore, what we've had to do is use the mounting arrays to go higher on the roof to get it above the cactus, and of course we will have to face that in another 10 or 15 years. So yes, I have.
So a certified and expert installer in the region would know about the cactus issues?
I would hope so.
All right, so what about California and then up to the Pacific Northwest?
California is one of the homelands of solar energy. Historically, both solar thermal and photovoltaics, and concentrated solar power. There's more companies and installations probably than anywhere on Earth. So it's excellent. Oregon and Washington State have good sunlight, but they also tend to have more cloud cover. So you need to be a little more thoughtful, and there are some wonderful mapping companies, some of them based in the region, that it can actually give you Google map-based installation maps for where you want to put solar. Actually, even Google Maps for rooftops, so you can look at what's on your, particularly your commercial industrial rooftop. And even Alaska, because a good part of the state has very high cost of electricity, relies on diesel, even though sunlight matches, as you can see, Germany here, we have a real issue that you don't have as higher quality sunlight as you do on the 48 contiguous states. But the fact is, with small marine systems and battery banks, we have thousands of solar systems operating very reliably.
So let me make clear. Germany is one of the countries that's been most forward-thinking in terms of solar.
It is the largest user of solar in the world, actually.
Okay, and you're telling me that there's nowhere in Alaska that has less sunlight and a lesser quality of sunlight than what's available in Germany?
Well, I don't want to say nowhere. Actually, the top part of Alaska, as it gets closer to the Arctic Circle, has the 6 months of diminished sunlight, let's just put it that way, that Germany less experiences. But for the most part, most of Alaska and most of Germany are comparable, and so it shows that we can, in both countries, utilize it if you're smart about it. And that's what this really is blending technologies, including high-value energy efficiency, creating systems that can beat the use of diesel or grid power generation where it's important, and they can be made to work reliably and economically.
Okay, so regardless of where I live in the United States, if I want to install a solar system, I'm thinking about it. What are the things I should do?
You should know your electric bill and the intricacies of your electric bill, your subrates. You should think about reliability and what costs and problems it occurs. Most people will have a 2-day outage, and then they won't think about it a week after until it happens again. You should understand and be a little more attuned to your power quality, your surges, why you're losing electronic equipment or having problems with microprocessors. And frankly, you should look about air quality. Not only are you meeting your Clean Air Act containment requirements, but also your greenhouse gas emission goals, and try to see if all those challenges, solar makes the right case for you. Then, on your building or facility, you need to look, do I have access to sunlight? Do I own it or do I rent it? And what are the local laws regarding interconnection, renewable portfolio standards, renewable energy or solar energy credits, so I can make a case, an economic case, for having this investment make money.
All right. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you,
So
Mark.
if you live in the United States, there's a pretty good chance that you can find a way to make solar work for you. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely right.
All right. I'm Mark Newberg. He's Scott Sklar for ICMA, the Stella Group Limited, and the SunShot Solar Outreach Partnership. Thanks for watching. We'll be back to answer more frequently asked questions soon.